Hey everybody, my name is Brian and welcome to the course. So what does this course cover? Well, it covers the basics of C++, the basics of Qt6 core, and some basic CMake usage. If you don't know what any of that is, don't worry, we're going to talk about that in depth, but C++ is the language we're going to use. Qt is the technology and 6 is the versions. We're talking about Qt6 that's written in C++. CMake is the make system used to wrap all this and build it into an actual program. Again, we're going to talk about this in depth in this course. We're going to talk about how Qt is designed and how Qt uses the C++ language. The key takeaway for this video here is that we're talking about the basics. This is a beginner's course. So if you already know C++ or Qt, this might not be the course for you. There are more advanced courses. I'm going to talk in detail in future slides how I've taken Qt and chopped it into multiple courses for a beginners, intermediate, and advanced. This is the beginner's course. Big sad face moment. What this course does not cover. Well, Qt is massive, and I mean massive. So if you bought an all-in-one course, I can almost guarantee you they are skipping over a lot of details. It's so massive, we cannot possibly cover it all in one course. So I've chopped this up into multiple courses. This is the beginner's course. So being a beginner's course, it will not cover advanced things such as advanced C++, threading, 3D video games, mobile programming, GUI programming, advanced Qt, older versions of Qt, or interacting with other technologies. We are hyper-focused on C++ and Qt from a beginner's perspective. All right, who should take this course? Well, this course is created for people who are new to Qt, new to C++, have some computer knowledge. I'd prefer you already know a computer programming language, but if you don't worry. I'm going to walk you through the basics of C++. You're going to want to begin programming with Qt. Qt is very challenging, so you're going to need to be passionate about this. We're going to break it down into simple, easy to understand, logical steps, but just have some respect for what we're talking about here. This is one of the most advanced library framework systems out there running in one of the hardest languages to learn, C++. So you're going to be able to read and follow directions. I have to kind of underscore that because some people simply cannot do that. And lastly, you're going to have to know how to use Google because there are going to be times where you're going to get stuck. This course just can't possibly cover every facet of Qt or every operating system or every use case you're going to run into. So you're going to have to know how to fix some problems on your own. We do have a rich and vibrant community, but there are going to be times where Google's going to be your best friend. Let's talk about course prerequisites here. So we touched a little bit on this in the previous video. However, you got to spell this out sometimes. Before taking this course, you should have a computer. Shocking, I know. You need a computer to learn computer programming. And you need some basic computer skills, meaning if you don't know how to print something or even turn your computer on, this is probably not the course for you. You're going to want to understand how to use a command line because, well, we're talking about console applications. You're going to need some fundamental understanding. We're going to do everything in an IDE, well, most everything, but it would be very preferential that you have some command line knowledge in case you get stuck. You can figure out why it's not working. And you're going to want to understand the basics of programming. I prefer you have at least one programming language under your belt, even if it's something extremely simple like JavaScript or Python, but have some sort of fundamental knowledge. We're going to talk about C++ from the very beginning, but we're going to do it very rapidly. So it may be hard for some people to keep up because we're going to go through it at just blistering speed. And C++ is one of the hardest languages to really master. So that being said, C++ experience is helpful but not needed. We are going to start with the basics, like what is a variable, what is a comment. But if you have that experience, great. And lastly, you should be able to solve basic issues. You're going to run into problems. You're going to get error messages. You're going to get things that make absolutely zero sense. So Basic problem solving is a must for this course. One of the biggest questions I get asked is, I already know C++. Should I take this course? Well, yes and no, and let me explain. So if you already know C++, this course may bore you to tears because we're going to start with what is a variable, what is a comment, hello world, things that you've probably done 1,000 times. However, we're doing it the Qt way, not necessarily the C++ standard library way. So there's going to be things in this course that completely contradict what you've probably been taught or have already done. And you may be scratching your head going, why is he doing it this way? And it's because Qt has their own way of doing things. And while they do use C++ and the C++ standard library, they prefer the Qt way. So if you can read and follow the Qt documentation, which is, by the way, world-class documentation, well, this may not be the course for you. You may want to start with the intermediate course. This course is really meant for beginners. Really what we're going to do is we're going to teach people at the very foundation what is C++ and how Qt builds upon it. So each video is going to get a little bit more complex and use Qt a little bit more than the previous videos. Who is the instructor? Who am I? That's the existential question in life, isn't it? Well, my name is Brian Cairns. I run a website called Void Realms and a YouTube channel also called Void Realms, which ironically gained in popularity not because of my programming ability, but because as I was recording, my cats would hear my voice and go absolutely bananas in the background. So I would be talking about like advanced multi-threaded programming, and you just hear these cats just destroying the house behind me. It's actually kind of funny now that I think about it, but point being, I've tried to clean this up a little bit. The cats are quiet and off somewhere else, so you don't have to worry about them making a lot of noise, as funny as that is sometimes. And I moved a lot of my videos and code over to Udemy, and I'm still in the process of doing that. So as far as Qt goes, specifically for this course, I've actually worked with Qt for a long time, and I've worked with the company Qt.io, creating official content for their YouTube channel. And they even gave me an award in 2020 for the Qt Champion Awards because I've created so much content. And below is a little blurb. I'm not going to read it out loud, but they kind of gave me some praise. So to say that I've worked with Qt is an understatement. I've worked with Qt a lot. These videos are raw and unfiltered. I'm going to let you in on an industry secret. Don't tell anybody. But most of the video courses you buy and watch, even out on YouTube, they're just that. They're video courses. They're not real world programming. So quite often you're going to see somebody typing and talking at the same time. And the harsh reality is that's not the real world. It's usually somebody typing, somebody else talking, or they have a computer algorithm typing it out and simulating like somebody's actually typing while they dub their voice over it. I'm not going to do any of that. So you're going to see these videos in real time as I type the code with minimal editing. I have to stress that minimal. I will do some editing to jazz them up, make them look a little more professional, but you're going to see mistakes. You're going to see errors, but more importantly, you're going to see how those mistakes are fixed. Quite often in these video courses, people make it seem like the world is perfect and their code is great. And when you go to reproduce what they've done, nothing works. And you have a hard time figuring out why their video was so easy, but your code's not working. So I want to show you Qt from a real world perspective. You're going to see misspellings. You're probably going to hear bad words. And those may be some of the minor edits where I just kind of blurb that word out. But I'll try to keep it super professional. The goal of this course, again, is to see how Qt works in the real world, not a production studio. So let's talk about Qt from a very, very high level. Qt is actually a set of libraries written in C++. So if you don't know what a library is, it is a software component that is reusable on other applications. Now, Qt is split into major parts. There is core, widgets, and QML. Core, non-visual classes, which is what we're talking about. And we don't have the opportunity to talk about all of them. Core is so big, I've had to split that up into multiple courses. So we're talking about core for beginners. Then there's widgets. This is an older GUI that runs on desktops. And then there's QML, which is a newer GUI that runs anywhere. And quite often I get asked, well, wait a minute, there's two different GUIs. Which one should I use? Should I use widgets or QML? Well, widgets is the older technology, and I suspect they will start phasing that out over time, although it is very professional. If you've ever used widgets or seen a widgets application, it's insanely cool. QML, however, is a newer technology, and it is being developed at rapid speed. Now, QML runs anywhere, and I do mean that anywhere, from your computer to your cell phone to a heads-up display in the space shuttle, it will run there. So we're going to talk about Qt more in depth, but I really wanted to give you a high-level overview of just how massive Qt is. As we've been alluding to, Qt is, well, massive, and there's no way you can possibly cover all of it in one course. So we're talking about beginners. You see that little red arrow, you are here. This is the specific course we're talking about, core for beginners. There's also an intermediate and advanced course that's going to go way beyond what this course covers. And then we've got widgets and QML. Now, those build upon Qt core. Widgets, remember, is the older GUI, still very relevant and very, very popular. There's a beginner's, intermediate, and advanced, and then QML, which is the newer GUI that runs anywhere from your desktop to your cell phone to in-dash displays in vehicles. That also has a beginner's, intermediate, and advanced. Now, if you rush out and you try to buy one of these courses and find that it's simply not there, it's because I'm still in the process of developing it and recording it. These courses take a lot of time to create. And then off to the right, we have some other courses which still fit, but they kind of just branch off and do their own thing. For example, design patterns talks about the appropriate way of doing things. Migrating talks about migration issues. And then embedded programming. I want to talk about some embedded stuff because embedded is a completely different topic. And then deployment issues along with PyQt, and then I may develop other courses as well. So if you have ideas for courses, drop me a note and let me know. But I wanted to give you a good solid overview of what we're talking about. That yellow rectangle, the beginners, this is the course we're talking about, the fundamental starting point. Qt is massive. Again, we cannot possibly cover everything all in one course, but understand that Qt's motto is write once, compile anywhere. And they do mean that. You can run your Qt code on just about anything. And it has also changed from version to version. So there's a lot of moving parts, a lot of changes. This course covers Qt6. Older versions might not work well with this course. You may find most of the code works just fine with Qt5 and maybe even Qt4, but this course is designed for Qt6 specifically. Now, each course, when I say course, we're really talking about levels of technology, core, widgets, QML. I've split that into beginners, intermediate, and advanced. Just for repetition, this is the beginners course covering Qt6 core. So if you have any questions or concerns about other technologies, definitely feel free to ask, but don't be surprised if I point you to the appropriate course. So if you're coming saying, well, how do I get this thing to run in QML? That's not what this course does. There's another course that covers it. However, if you're having a problem with a QML application and the part you're asking about is Qt core, I may address it in this course. What, why, how, and recap. So this course is really broken down into sections. Each section has videos, and each video is going to follow a similar structure. We're going to talk about what, which is what we are actually covering, why, the real world usage, why are we even talking about it, and then how. How may have multiple parts because let's face it, as programs get bigger and more complex, we may have to break things down into logical units. And then if it's a really complex topic, I may add an optional recap at the very end of this. So this is a complete departure from the previous courses on how I've recorded things. I want these to be very structured, very easy to understand. So again, we're going to cover what, why, how, and an optional recap. The overall goals of this course are pretty straightforward. By the end of the course, you should be able to create simple console applications, have a solid understanding of how Qt works, and basic knowledge of Qt Core. Notice those are two different things. How Qt works and Qt Core are two totally separate topics. Qt is built on top of C++, so we have to have some basic C++ knowledge, which we'll get through this course. And Qt Core is using C++ to manipulate Qt and build an actual program. It all kind of comes together in this nice little dance. And at the very end of this, you should be ready to move on to the Qt Core Intermediate course, which is going to build upon the foundational skills and knowledge you learn in this course and really start working with those Qt classes inside of Qt Core. What is Qt? It's a question I'm often asked. Well, it's libraries written in C++ is kind of the standard generic answer. However, it's a little bit demeaning because Qt has grown way beyond what I would even consider a framework and is pretty much an entire ecosystem for developers. Pretty much C++ can do anything, and Qt is written in C++, so Qt can do anything. And it runs almost anywhere. They mean that. I mean, anywhere. So Qt covers everything from basic applications all the way up to, no joke, high-performance multi-threaded TCP servers with a 3D heads-up touchscreen display. Yes, you can actually do that in Qt. Believe me, I've done it. It's actually insanely cool. This technology takes really challenging problems and makes them very straightforward and very simple. Now, the really cool part about Qt is the same code base that runs on a desktop can run on a dashboard, a mobile device, an embedded system, and pretty much anywhere C++ runs. The technology is just insane once you actually wrap your head around it. Another popular newbie question I'm often asked is, what can you make with Qt? Well, basically anything. And I hate giving that answer because they kind of roll their eyes and goes, well, yeah, anything. I mean it. Anything you can build in C++, you can build with Qt. So console applications, mobile applications, embedded, desktop, pretty much anything. So for example, the IDE we're going to use, Qt Creator, was created with Qt. Chances are a lot of the popular applications you use, even video games, are created with Qt. If you have a fancy TV or like a refrigerator with a touchscreen display, there's probably Qt running in that thing. It can do literally anything. It's just crazy. All right, the very first step is you have to actually download Qt. It doesn't just exist on your system. So you got to visit qt.io, understand the licensing, get the version you need, decide between open source or enterprise users, and it gets a little bit more involved than that. So let's go ahead and take a look. Let's take a look at downloading. So one of the really cool things about Qt is it runs virtually anywhere. Before you, I have a Linux virtual machine. Now, I don't want you to panic. All of the code that we're going to write in this course will run seamlessly on Mac, Windows, and Linux. I'm actually using an unsupported version of Linux just to show that it runs virtually anywhere. So in case you're wondering what a virtual machine is, well, it's this. It's Oracle VM VirtualBox Manager, and I'm running an operating system inside of my operating system. What you're seeing on the screen is just a small section of my actual computer. I'm just using it to record. Now, you don't need a virtual machine. You can run this directly on your desktop. I just, in the interest of full disclosure, wanted to let you know, hey, I'm running this on a VM. Now, in case you're curious, you can go out to my YouTube channel, Void Realms, and go to videos, and somewhere in this mess, there it is, I have a 25-minute long video showing exactly how I set this virtual machine up. I didn't include this in the course because it's really outside the scope of what we're talking about for Qt. All right, back to downloading Qt. Go to qt.io, and this is where a lot of people get really confused. They see price and buy, and they think they have to buy this, and then they instantly, become discouraged and they want nothing to do with it. Actually, just go to download and try. Qt has what's called a dual licensing model. So you can either buy it or you can use the open source version down here. Note, pretty much the top two, buy and try, are the same thing. One just takes you instantly to, hey, buy it. And the other one, it gives you like an evaluation version and then tells you later to buy it. If you just want to check it out, use the open source version. I don't want to discourage you from buying Qt. If you're going to do serious development, you should really consider it, especially if you're a company. Go to open source, and this is what we're going to be using for these videos. Now, again, if you're on Mac, Windows, different version of Linux, whatever, doesn't matter. The same steps are going to be true. Go to open source and scroll down. Now, it's going to walk you through a bit of the licensing model and some of the restrictions, and this is where people get really confused because some parts are licensed in one license and other parts are licensed in a completely different license, and you're going to have to pick what's right for you. When in doubt, contact Qt. I'm not a lawyer. I'm not an expert in licensing restrictions. I just know that Qt is used abundantly in the open source community, and I see a lot of really cool software out there, including the software that, well, you're watching these videos on. That's right. All of this was shot with open source software and encoded with open source video tools, all of which written in Qt. Very cool stuff. Anyway, so the basics of open source obligations say, if you're going to publish this program that you're writing, you're going to want a relinking mechanism to the Qt libraries, meaning you shouldn't do a static build. If you have no idea what that is, don't worry about it just yet. And you're going to want to provide, license copies to the end users, and then on and on. You can read all of these little steps, but basically, any changes you make to Qt, you have to publish back to Qt, and you have to make your source open source. There are other caveats where you can close source your application, but again, I'm not a lawyer. When in doubt, contact Qt. All right, scrolling all the way down, you'll see this download the Qt online installer. If you need an offline installer, you'll need to contact Qt directly for an offline version. And they may tell you they don't have one. It depends on the version and the build and all of that. So once you get to this point where it says install Qt, you're going to see your download. We have detected your operating system, whatever you're running. If you need a different one, you can view other options. And this is where if I were going to support different operating systems, I just go ahead and download each one of those and then distribute them across my network or a USB thumb drive. When you're satisfied with the one you're going to get, hit download, and it should automatically start a download for you. And you get some notes for commercial evaluators. Just a heads up, if you do contact the Qt support desk, the first question they're going to ask is what's your customer ID? So just be prepared for that. The open source does come with very limited support. All right, so go to show in folder and you'll get a binary. On my Linux machine here, it says .run. We're going to walk through the installation process for Linux, Windows, and Mac, and I am going to recap the download steps for each one just for complete clarity. Installing, everybody's favorite. All right, so each operating system is going to be a bit different. The main takeaway here is read the installation instructions. I can't tell you how many times somebody comes to me frustrated and go, well, it won't install. And I simply ask, did you follow the directions? And surprisingly, they did not. So read, understand, and follow the directions. We're going to show you the basic installations on Windows, Mac, and Linux. Your systems may be, or will probably be, slightly different. So if you run into any issues, Google's going to be your friend. These are the steps you need to install Qt6 on Windows 10. First thing you need to do is go to qt.io, click download and try, scroll all the way down to downloads for open source users and click go open source. Make sure you understand and agree to all of the licensing restrictions for open source development and scroll all the way down to download the Qt online installer. From here, just simply download the installer and wait for the download to complete. Go ahead and open up the installer and run it. The installer is pretty intuitive and pretty straightforward. Simply make sure that you have a Qt account. If you don't, you can go ahead and sign up. It's pretty painless. Hit next. Go ahead and make sure you approve the obligations of using Qt open source and hit next. Hit next again to download the meta information. And go ahead and disable usage statistics. I want to do a custom installation. Hit next. And feel free to put Qt wherever you want it. From there, choose Qt along with Qt version 6. Common mistake is to select the entire thing, but then you're shocked by a massive download. So don't check everything. Instead, just check what you need. For example, I'm going to use MinGW 64-bit along with the Qt 5 compatibility module. If I want something else, for example, the sources, I can download those later. Everything else can be installed later. Note if you do a previous installation, there is a lot more, and it is a much bigger download. People are often shocked by how much you're downloading. Again, just install what you need. For example, MinGW 64-bit. Once you have everything that you want to download, go ahead and double check and then hit next. From there, make sure you agree to the license agreement and hit next again. Choose a shortcut name and then hit install. Once the installation has been completed, hit next, make sure that Launch Qt Creator is checked, and hit finish. Once Qt Creator opens, you're ready to begin developing. If at any time you realize you're missing a component or you want to add a feature of Qt, simply go to wherever you installed Qt and run the maintenance tool. Repeat the sign-in process. Go ahead and make sure that Add Remove Components is selected. Then go ahead and expand the version of Qt you want to update and select any components you need and hit next. Follow the directions on the screen. This is how to install Qt on Mac. First thing you want to do is make sure that you have Xcode installed, configured, and that you can open it. Once you get to this point, you're pretty much good to go. If you have any issues, consult Apple's documentation on how to configure Xcode. From there, you're going to download the online installer for open source and Mac. Make sure you understand and agree to all the open source license restrictions and go to download the Qt online installer. Download the installer. Once the installer's been downloaded, go ahead and open it up. You're going to want to mount the DMG file that you downloaded. And then run the installer. Go ahead and accept any warnings you get from Mac. You'll need the Qt account and password. If you don't have one, go ahead and click Sign Up. The process is fairly painless, and then click Next. Make sure you have read and approve of the obligations for using open source with Qt, and click Next. Go ahead and disable sending statistics and go ahead and choose your download installation location. From there, you're going to want to select what components you want. A common mistake is to select everything. Instead, just choose what you need, similar to how we did it in the Linux section. Once you've decided what you need, go ahead and hit Next. And go ahead and accept the license agreement and Next and Install. Once the installation process is finished, make sure Launch Qt Creator is checked, hit Finish, and you're ready to begin programming. After the installation, go ahead and unmount that DMG. If there's anything that you forgot to install, you can go back out to your installation folder and run the maintenance tool. The maintenance tool will allow you to install any components that you want and even remove components you don't want. Make sure that Add Remove Components is selected and hit Next. From there, the steps are virtually identical. Just expand your version of Qt and select what you want to install. And then hit Next and follow the directions on the screen. One thing I love about Qt is very versatile. You can install it just about anywhere. For example, I have this Linux virtual machine that I'll be doing most of my development on. So Linux is a little bit more challenging than Windows and Mac. So the first thing you're going to want to do is, well, make sure your system's up to date. You are updating your system, aren't you? If you're updating your system, this should be fairly snappy and a short step. However, if you're not updating your system, yeah, be prepared. Also, let's go ahead and paste this in. We're going to install G++. I have this installed already. Feel free to use whatever compiler you want, but I'll be using G++ for my tutorials. From there, go ahead and go to Download and Try. Scroll all the way down to Downloads for Open Source Users and click Go to Open Source. Make sure you understand all of the obligations for open source. I've covered this in previous videos. It's pretty straightforward, but you have to really give Qt credit where credit's due and make sure you are following the open source licensing. From there, click Download the Qt Online Installer. Go ahead and scroll down and click Download. The online installer is, well, pretty small, so it should be a pretty snappy download, even on this little virtual machine here. Once you've got this, go ahead and Show in Folder, and right-click Properties, and you want to make sure that this is executable. If you're a command line wizard, of course, feel free to do all of this right off the command line. From there, simply run the installer, and everything is, well, pretty straightforward. Make sure you have a Qt account. If not, go ahead and sign up for one. This is a big turnoff for a lot of people, but I can tell you, this is not a paid advertisement. I'm just a normal user, and I have not gotten any spam from Qt whatsoever. So it's actually not bad, but you'll need an email and a password. Go ahead and sign up, and then hit Next. Make sure you've read and approved of the obligations of using open source. The big takeaway here is that you're not going to modify Qt, and if you do, you give those modifications back to Qt and the open source community. Also, you have to follow all the licensing guidelines, all of which is available out on Qt. Go ahead and hit Next. Okay. If you're feeling very generous, you can help them by allowing statistics in Qt Creator. A lot of people don't trust that, so they just go to Disable. I'm going to do Disable simply because I'm on a little virtual machine, and what I do on this virtual machine is not really what I do in real life most of the time. Now, I want a custom installation. You can definitely feel free to do the default, but I want a custom installation. So I'm going to go to Browse, and I want to put this in a special folder. From here, I'm going to tell it to go into the Qt subfolder. Hit Next. A lot of people will instantly go in and say, oh, I want everything, but then they're shocked that it is a massive download. Again, I'm on a small virtual machine here, so I don't want 5 gigs. When in doubt, don't select the whole thing, only select what you need. What you need for these videos right off the bat is desktop, and we might even touch in on the compatibility modules. If you want stuff later, you can run the maintenance tool and install it after the fact. You don't need to download everything right up front. Go ahead and agree to the license agreement and go ahead and install. All right, once the installer is done, Linux has another extra little step here. You're going to want to go out to Google and you're going to want to look up for your operating system how to install OpenGL. Once you find those steps, go ahead and follow those directions on how to install OpenGL for your Linux version. The big takeaway here is that Qt has an amazing graphics engine, but it does rely on OpenGL. So if you don't have that installed, you're going to have a bad time when you go to do QML or Qt widgets. Back in the installer, you can just make sure Launch Qt Creator is checked and hit Finish. Now let's say you've been happily coding away, but you find there's a feature you're missing and you want to go out and reinstall it. You don't have to reinstall all of Qt. Instead, go out to wherever you installed Qt and run the maintenance tool. This is the de facto on every operating system, and I'm going to cover this in Mac and Windows as well, but you just run this maintenance tool and it starts the installer. Hit Next, and then make sure you've got Add or Remove Components selected. From there, hit Next, it will download the meta information. And then you can just simply select the components that you want. Hit Next and follow the directions on the screen. So let's take a quick tour of the IDE. So first off, what is an IDE? Well, it's Qt Creator. You're looking at it. Integrated Development Environment is what IDE stands for. And if you're wondering how I got to this point, you simply open Qt on whatever operating system you installed it in. For me, it's just right here, Qt Creator. It's going to open this up. Now, there are some different buttons and tabs and everything gets very, very confusing. So you can have different sessions, which is a bit advanced for this series, but basically you can have different sessions of development. You have projects, which is the current tab we're on. Examples, that's right, there's a ton, and I mean a ton of examples already baked into Qt. I can't tell you the number of times somebody messages me and says, how do I make an elastic node? And I say, have you seen the elastic nodes example? When in doubt, always check the examples first and select your version before choosing the example. There are tutorials baked right in. Most of these are seminars or online talks. They're not really tutorials in the sense that you might be thinking of, for example, the course that you're watching right now. Some of these can get very lengthy and some of them can get very technical. So if you don't have the prerequisites, it's just going to unapologetically lose you very fast. And then there is a marketplace. So if you are developing something with Qt, you can put it out in the Qt marketplace. All right, there's the edit tab over here, which, well, we don't have an open project, so there's really nothing to display. Debug, same thing. We don't have an open project, so there's nothing to display. I'm always wondered why those aren't grayed out, similar design and projects. And then you have a comprehensive help system. This is massive. I mean, every facet of Qt is in the built-in help system. This is insanely cool. They even have a getting started, IDE overview, and user interface, and pretty much most of the things we're talking about. You can actually dig into the help system and read in depth how everything works. Now, in case you're wondering, this is called Qt Creator, and it's the IDE we're going to be working with. This is built with Qt. That's right. The same thing that you're learning built this entire IDE. That's how powerful Qt is. Pretty cool, huh? Now, one thing I want to talk about, if we go to Tools, Options, and bring up Kits, you'll see this auto-detected. I would caution you from modifying that, but what a kit is it tells Qt how to build the program. You can see how it says name, desktop Qt with a % version, that's a variable. So it's really defining what we're talking about. So if I'm going to build for the desktop, this is what it's going to do. And I don't expect you by any means to understand what any of this stuff is, but this is how your program's going to be created. So 9 times out of 10, if you have a problem building a program, it's right here with your compiler. You don't have a compiler installed. Really what we're doing here is we're running GCC or whatever compiler we chose out on the command line. So if it's not installed, it's simply not going to work. CMake should be baked right in with Qt. You can see in the little parentheses Qt, which means it got installed when we installed Qt. Again, don't mess with this if you don't have to. You can see which versions you have, and you can add versions manually if you need to. You can also link to an existing Qt version. So if you have a custom Qt installation, you can just link right to it. You can see what compilers you have, debuggers, CMake, and so on. And we're going to talk about all of this stuff, but at a high level, kits define how Qt builds things. Version is the version that you can build on. Compiler takes all the code and compiles it into object files. Debuggers tell us what we did wrong. And CMake is the build tool that helps us tell the compiler how to actually build things. Gets kind of crazy. All right, so let's go ahead and let's make a new console application. This is pretty much where we're going to be living for this series. So I'm going to say Qt console. I'm going to leave this as untitled and put it wherever you want to put your code. And you can check this little use as default project location so you don't have to re-enter that every single time. Build system, CMake. So this is a little bit confusing. We're going to talk about CMake a little bit more, but CMake tells the compiler how to build Qt. And that's a little bit backwards, but basically you'll write code and then the computer is going to build it. You need a build system to build with, and we're going to use CMake. Now, special note, QMake is available. And you may be wondering what the difference between these two is. We'll cover it later, but at a high level, Qt built QMake, but they're migrating to CMake. So if you're from a previous version of Qt, you can still use QMake, but we will favor CMake. Translation file, that is if you had some language translations you wanted to put into your app. And then kit selection, which we've already talked about. For these videos, we're going to use Qt6. Now, Qt is pretty good at backwards compatibility. So as 6.1 and 6.2 and all those come out, you'll see this number increment. However, the videos we're talking about should work just fine. We don't really want any project management, but if you had any source control or anything like that, that's where you would add it in. All right, now that we have a basic application, we can see the structure of the app here. So we have our project, we have our CMake list, which we'll talk about in another video, and then our actual source code. Then we have all of the CMake modules. Now remember, CMake tells the compiler, or I should say the computer, how to build things. And here's Qt in CMake. If you're really brave, you can pop one open, just don't try to modify it or you may have a bad time. All right, for those of you who are brave, you can go ahead and click this button right here or press Ctrl-R on the keyboard. If you go to the one below it, it does debug mode. So let's just run this and see what happens. There it is, our application does absolutely nothing, but I wanted to show you what a console app looks like. Let's go ahead and close that. Now, if we go into projects down here, you see we have a build and run. Build is, well, our kit. We have a debug and release and all these other options. So debug is pretty much what we're going to stay with. This is where you're building the application. Release is what you would do just before you give it to the end customer. A bit advanced for this course, just understand there's a debug and a release. We're going to stay with debug. And in run, you see how this run in terminal is checked. If I uncheck that and then run it, notice how nothing happens, but we get this down here where it's blinking red. Our application is actually running inside the IDE. And then we have this stop button, or we could debug. I'm going to hit stop, and you can see the program has finished. So if you ever want to toggle between the IDE or a terminal, you just check that box. I'm going to pretty much stay in the terminal as much as possible. And if you're really curious, you can look at all these other settings. Now, let's talk about debug. What is debugging? Well, it's a science in itself, and it's how you play around with figuring out why your program's not running. And we're not going to use this a whole lot because it gets a bit advanced for this course, but just in case you accidentally click it, let's go ahead and close all this stuff. We're going to click this guy here. start debugging of a Qt project. And you'll notice it goes a lot slower. And that's because your computer is building, compiling, and then stepping through the instructions, and eventually it will, at the speed of this virtual machine, eventually get to the point we can start stepping through the code and figuring out what's going on. Now, it's just sitting here going and going and going, and it's saying debugging starts. So let's go ahead and pause this. Oh, all right, so there we go. We are in our main function. Don't expect you to even know what a function is at this point on this file, line 7 at this memory address. Now, this is why we're kind of staying out of here. This course is built for beginners, and debugging is definitely 100% not designed for beginners. At this point, you don't even know what a function is or what a memory address is or any of that or any of this stuff. So if you see this big ugly screen, really all you've done is you've run in debug mode. Simply hit this red stop button and then flip back over to edit to get rid of all that stuff. We simply don't need it. When in doubt, click the green arrow, not the green arrow with the bug. Now, at times you may see me actually build or rebuild. So this is the build button here. And you can see there's nothing to do because we've already built it. Let's jump out to our code folder here. This is what we're actually doing. So here is our code. Notice how there's our CMake list and our main CPP. This is the actual source code file that we're working with in the IDE. What Qt is doing, or I should say what the compiler and the build system are doing, are building this folder. So I'm going to get rid of this guy. Just to show you, we're going to bring this back, and I'm going to click this build button. Now it goes through the entire build process. And you can see it's kind of stepping through this thing. If I go back out here, now we have our build folder again, and this is what it's doing, is it's generating all this stuff for us. Now, if you're on Windows, you probably have an untitled .exe. I'm on Linux, so I just have this guy. Mac will have a completely different folder structure. But this is what we're doing. Now, at times you may want to right-click and rebuild or clean. So if you cleaning 3 files, what that does is it removes the binary that we just compiled. And of course, we'd want to build, and it will regenerate that binary. Now, rebuild does pretty much both those steps at the same time. We're just going to rebuild everything forcefully. It's going to clean it out. I shouldn't say clean it, it's just going to overwrite the files, and you can see how that's what it's doing. So if you ever see me build or clean or rebuild, that's really all we're doing, is we are wiping out and rebuilding those files that the compiler has generated for us. Now, back in our application, one last little snippet. Let's say we don't know what this guy is. We can just simply hit F1 on the keyboard, and it brings up the help system directly to it. 90% of the time, this works just fine. But if you're ever curious what something is, you just highlight it, F1 on the keyboard, and it brings up the help system. Saves you having to go to the help system and trying to find it. To get rid of this window, simply click this button over here. All right, installation issues. I really hate to say this, but Google is your friend. Qt can get kind of challenging to install. Always review the installation documentation if you run into an issue. Qt runs anywhere, and environments can be drastically different. So for example, my Linux box is probably very different than your Linux box. My Windows box is probably similar, but of course different than yours. Point being, you may have some environmental issues you'll have to work through. Most of the time, and I dare say 99% of the time, it's just simply a missing dependency, and the installer is usually really good about letting you know that. However, sometimes Google, of course, is your friend, will tell you, hey, you missed something. So always refer back to the documentation. Let's take a moment and talk about bugs. So if you've done any sort of software development at all, even just basic learning at home, you know it's usually not very straightforward, and well, code often doesn't work or has problems or breaks, or the code you see on the screen is not the code that actually works in the real world. Short version, I'm not perfect. Nobody is. There's going to be problems. There'll be things that I'll need to change. If you find a bug in the code, let me know. I will update the GitHub source code. That's right, all the source code that you're going to watch in these videos is available out at GitHub. If it's a big bug, I might even re-record the entire video, but first check GitHub. I'm always going to update GitHub first because it's much easier to update a text file than it is to re-record an entire video. Let's talk about reviews and feedback. Now, I know a lot of people are going to skip this video, but it's actually super important. Let me know what you think, and just be brutally honest whether you love this course or hate this course. Your feedback really shapes any modifications I make to this course and actually shapes other courses that I build in the future. So rather than just skipping the review or smashing a button, just leave me a little bit of feedback. Let me know what you like and don't like. Also, Udemy has this annoying pop-up. You've probably seen it by now. It usually pops up in the beginning of a course before you've had a chance to dive into the course material. I've got no control over it. I'm sorry. Just skip it and then come back and leave a review later after you've had a chance to really give the course a chance. And there is a Q&A section, but I'm going to warn you about that. You're asking a question to other students who have probably the same level of knowledge you have. So there may be some good discussion, but usually it's going to sit there until I have a chance to get online and answer it. So if you really have a burning question, even if it's off topic or a completely different technology, check out the Void Realms Facebook group. We've got thousands of experts, myself included, that are in there 24/7.